Live from the Man Cave, treadmills and tangents with Coach Aaron Saran and his army of wellness warriors. Live in discussion of all things health and wellness, along with community topics they happen to stumble upon.
All right, good morning to you, Omaha. Coach coming at you again. We are live from the Man Cave. Actually, finally live from the Man Cave. I'm here with Timmy and Sam.
Good morning, Omaha.
Good morning.
We haven't been live from the Man Cave because I moved and my Man Cave disappeared on me. But now I have I have a man cubby.
Well, it's better than the mobile man cave that we were working.
Yeah,
we were in the man kitchen, and then we were in the man dining room, and then we were
in the man everywhere we could find space to record.
Not a big group.
But now I'm in the man cubby, it's a former bedroom that I've converted into a game room and recording studio. And so we're in the man cubby for a little while until my man cave gets re-envisioned and finished again. Unfortunately, the house I moved into has an unfinished basement, and with much internal drama, unbeknownst to my wife, we moved and I had to give up my man cave. But I have a pool now.
You do have a pool.
I have a man pool.
And a volleyball court.
We will have to record poolside
For sure.
once it gets a little warmer
and
out.
Also, you have a man cave currently that is unblemished. The world is your oyster. You can build it however you want. It's an unfinished basement, so...
That's true. I thought you were talking about the cubby because we're sitting in a mint green room right now.
There's a great accent wall.
Really, you can do whatever you want with the cubby,
There's a nice ambiance in here.
You know what's funny? I was at Lowe's and I wanted to get, because there's a hardwood floor in here, and I wanted to get a carpet, a throw rug to dampen the noise.
Sure.
And I actually texted my mom, hey, what color is that room again? Like I care if it matches, but I did anyway. I don't know why I did that.
The man cubby's got to have a little bit of ambiance.
It's got to have some style.
So I honestly I don't pay attention to what color the room is. And she texts back, it's mint green and gray. And I'm like, what the hell?
What a color combination.
Yeah, so I actually found a grayish rug. So
yeah, it fits. It works.
It works, yeah, sort of. What's new, fellas? What's new in your worlds? School's almost done for you, Tim, right?
School is almost done. Yeah, we got a big purchase. I'll be busy this summer with swapping out thousands of computers. And today is actually, as soon as I get done here, I got to shoot over to our blood drive. We're going to be at the La Vista Community Center from 10 to 2:30. So if people want to stop by and donate blood, we're doing our annual blood drive in honor of our son Henry.
You guys check that out. It's the Monsters Mission Foundation, correct?
Yes, sir.
And they do blood drives and raise money, child cancer research,
pediatric
cancer awareness. So definitely check that out, guys. We what the goal is 100 donations.
Yep, that's what we usually shoot for. So
always a good turnout, great turnout.
We are usually right around 100, upper 90s. So it'd be good. Yeah, if you want to come or meet us, you want to see what we look like. Usually, Coach and Sam stop by. I'll be there all day. My son Grant will be there for a good chunk of the day.
I stop by and do doubles because I'm that good.
I
donate doubles.
You got the good stuff.
I'm the universal donor as well, by the way. So everybody wants a piece of me.
That is true. That is true.
so to speak.
It is early for this, my lord.
Where's it at again? Before I forget,
La Vista Community Center.
So that's it's kind of tucked in the back, guys. You kind of have to. It's back behind the Keno parlor, back in there.
Exactly.
And to be honest, first time I went there, I lived on 84th and Giles for a bunch of years. I didn't even know that community center was even there. It's a cool little place, and awesome. I wish they would be able to do more with it. But yeah, check that out, guys. Later on today. How late are you going to be there?
I'll be there till last donation starts at 2:30.
Last donation at 2:30, and it starts when?
10 o'clock. So
10
as soon as we're done here, I'll be a little late.
Right on.
I'll get it.
Good deal. Hey guys, I saw I'm not a big TV watcher, mostly because I don't have time. But when I do watch TV,
in your underoos, with your blue blockers.
Hey, come on now. I usually go to Netflix because I can watch, I like watching the documentaries or pseudo documentaries, or I'll go to YouTube and I like watching TED Talks or just keynote speeches and stuff like that. So I came across a documentary called The Magic Pill. Oh. And I'm always interested in nutrition. Obviously, our show is health and wellness, but I'm always interested in nutrition documentaries. One, because I'm always curious of the angle they're taking based on who's funding it. And is it, some of the documentaries really aren't a documentary on nutrition. It's more a bash on the food industry, or it's more a bash on the cattle industry, whatever it happens to be. But this one, The Magic Pill, I really like, and I think everybody should watch it. I've already posted everybody. It's a must watch, but it basically explores the ketogenic diet, like we've been talking about. Everybody knows we're big fans of the ketogenic diet, and this is just more evidence, and it follows a few families who are suffering from diabetes, one child suffering from autism, someone else is suffering from various metabolic diseases, and they put them on a ketogenic diet and then kind of follow it. And then throughout the course of the documentary, they talk about the ketogenic diet. They interview indigenous and Aboriginal communities. And one of the best moments of the documentary is they were talking to, I'm using the term wrong, but it's an Aboriginal tribe out of Australia. And they were talking about, okay, the history of why people are dying in the tribe, right? And they're currently dying from chronic disease, which we know is all the inflammation and metabolic diseases. And they said, okay, well, before that, what were people dying from? Well, it was infectious disease, right? And then, but through medicine and inoculations, we were able to trump that, okay? And by the way, that's not a public support of our president, Donald Trump, I'm just saying.
It's a use of the actual word.
Although I did vote for him, but that's beside the point. So they said, okay, well, before infectious disease, what was killing people? And there was a pause, and they said, old age, right? Old age. So we went from people dying from old age to dying from infectious disease to now dying from chronic disease. And the chronic disease is 100% linked to diet. And one researcher actually came out and said, really, all these diseases are the same disease, right? It's all insulin-induced metabolic disease. Whether you want to call it heart disease, diabetes, overweight, whatever it happens to be, he goes, it's all the same disease, and it's all cured the same way. And that was like, boom. I knew it, but it's just, you know how sometimes somebody says it a little bit different, and you're like, holy smokes. Sure. So literally, I was sitting there in my underwear, by the way, but it was like...
the Amazon package came.
It was like 11 o'clock at night, and I had started it, and that's why I love Netflix, because you can start something and go back and finish it and pick up where you left off, but I was like, how awesome is that? Now, Sam, you have seen it as well.
Yeah, I watched it just recently, right? And I was amazed by the young girl with autism. That's what really amazed me. She was 4, and the parents put her on, strict keto diet.
And they were at wit's end. They were.
They were spending, they had pills for her to take that were
$500 a month.
$1,000 a month.
And they one bottle.
And their insurance covered part of it. And so they had to pay $300.
Yeah.
That was one bottle out of many pills that she
out
had
of
to take.
pocket.
And she actually started coming out of her autism. She started speaking. She started calming down. They were talking how she would bobble and be fidgety climbing on the window ledges, and she stopped. It all stopped. She was calm.
Right. The funny part is they said, she revolted the first few days because essentially her diet consisted of goldfish Doritos and chicken nuggets, which, I'm guilty. I'll give that to my kids too, because I'm just happy to get them to eat, but I know it's wrong. And when I see a documentary like this, I want to kick myself. I literally want to go through my pantry, throw everything out.
I want to be honest with you. Watching it made me not want to work for Hy-Vee. Made me not want to work for a food retail company. In all honesty, it really did.
Well, do you know what?
The mic dropped right there. The mic picked itself up.
And Sam is officially unemployed come one day.
Well, it makes you think about, the food we're, selling to these people. And it's,
that documentary hints a little bit. They don't go after the food industry.
No, not at all.
But they hint, they allude to the food pyramid was wrong, and the information put out there was put out by the food industry and got us thinking that we need all these grains and carbohydrates, and we know we know as fact that it's what's causing all the disease right now. And it's funny that you say that, because I was in Hy-Vee today, and I like just strolling around, seeing what's out there, and especially so I can get some content for the show. And I'll go in the organic section, which we've talked. Organic doesn't mean healthy, right? Organic, you can have an organic bag of sugar, and it's still sugar. It'll still kill you. But I just finished watching documentary, so now I'm in the organic section, which this is not a knock on Hy-Vee, not a knock on any organic section. There's a lot of great healthy food in there. But there's also a lot of unhealthy food as well, with the organic label slapped on it. And I was specifically looking around, I wonder how much of these products have grains and carbohydrates and sugars. And I had to struggle to find something that didn't.
It's just as bad as in the normal food aisle.
Well, it's just food bad in general, and that's the whole point of this documentary. And again, the magic pill on Netflix, everybody watch it, is that we have put grains and carbohydrates in everything because they're cheap belly fillers. And even the cattle was meant originally a grass-eating animal, right? It was a grazing animal. And then they've shown that grass-fed beef has better fats in it, has more omega-3s in it than grain-fed beef. And generally, they'll grain feed beef in the last X number of weeks to fatten them up in a hurry and then take them to slaughter. That grain is transferring to us through the meat, and now it's contributing to the disease. And, whether you think there's a flavor difference between grass-fed and beef-fed, that's up for debate. And, You know, I personally can't tell the difference, but then again, I've never actually done a side-by-side taste test, to be completely honest. But my mom says you can taste the difference, and I have family members that say 100%.
I hear it all the time, man.
You can taste the difference. But the health benefit is for certain, right? There are more omega-3s, there are better fats in it, there's more CLA in it. It is a better meat product for you.
It's almost like the pesticides we talked about last week, you know, getting them off the vegetables. As they do that grain fed, it gets into that. I mean, and that's not something you can wash off, obviously, but it's kind of a similar principle that something that's happening before the food comes to you is compromising that.
You eat fish because it's got more omega-3s in it. Well, where do fish get the omega-3s? By eating plants and plankton. It only holds serve that if cattle are eating grass. And, you know, and you can get into the whole environmental thing. It's better on the environment. There's less waste, all that jazz.
They do talk about that in there a little bit. But
yeah, one guy says, actually, if we went ahead and just grazed all of our beef, we could reduce the greenhouse carbon footprint by in 10 years. We could almost eliminate it. You know, you can argue that all day long. Yeah. We're not here to argue that. But I guess my point is, guys, is that you can't get away from grains and carbohydrates anymore. And I even look at my own pantry and I go, oh my God, it's easy for me to eat healthy because I'm responsible for myself. But I just got on my kids a little bit ago. They were sitting on the couch eating some chips. And I said, all right, we're done. No more chips. Of course they got mad at me. They don't know any better. And it's on the parents to put the right food in front of them.
Sure. But
it's hard. You know, you start looking at labels. You know, we're gonna food sample here a little bit. When I was in the organic section, I just kind of glanced down. I was in the condiment section, and I was like, I wonder how much sugar's in all this stuff. Like, you know, generally barbecue sauce and ketchups have more sugar. But man, when you look at a thing of ketchup, I mean, I personally don't like ketchup. It's too sweet to me. I love tomatoes, but ketchup's too sweet. But some of them are loaded with sugar. So we're going to sample some condiments later on. But I had to really look at labels, man. You really got to study labels. And like, holy smokes, there's a lot of sugar. Like, you look at the pancake mixes, like protein pancakes. Like, okay, this has got to be good for you.
7,000 grams of sugar.
Oh my gosh, it's just loaded with carbohydrates. And it's still grain and wheat. And when you see gluten-free, that just means there's no wheat in it. There's still rice and corn in it, right? It's still sort of grain.
Sugar is, I always tell people, and they laugh at me at work as people have started to ask me, you know, more about the keto diet. I'm like, man, you got to get off sugar. I was like, sugar is more addictive than cocaine. And they're like, I'm like, no, I'm serious.
Well, they're also showing now, cancer research is showing that the ketogenic diet, and again, guys, whether you're on pure ketogenic or not, that's not our point here. The point here is that, you know, the documentary, The Magic Pill, it just puts another stake in the ground in terms of how bad carbohydrates and grains are for you. But the cancer research, I saw a study from a researcher in Pakistan, and then this documentary had some more research on that the ketogenic diet is ideal for anti-cancer because cancer cells feed off of sugar. And we had Lee Sladeholm in here, Dr. Sladeholm, talking about cancer. And yeah, they do keep them alive with a glucose drip, and that cancers but it comes back to insulin as well. Insulin is very anabolic, and insulin makes everything grow, to include cancer. If you keep your insulin and your sugar at a minimum, it's not a friendly environment for cancer cells.
Well, it's funny because in that documentary, there's a lady that actually got diagnosed with cancer. And she went on the ketogenic diet.
Yeah.
Never had chemotherapy.
Did no chemo, no radiation or anything. Diet,
and it started shrinking.
She shrunk the tumor. Yeah. And it just goes to show you that it's another metabolic disease. Like, you know, we don't know for certain why cancer happens. It's a mutation of genes. It's a retardation of genes, however you want to look at it. Or of cells, I should say. I'm sorry. I misspoke there. But you can create an environment that's conducive or not conducive to it, absolutely. Right? And they're showing the ketogenic diet basically puts the cancer cells in a stress state. And then if you do chemo, it's that much more effective, right? Because you need a lower dose. And then, remember, chemo kills the whole body, right?
So
it's going to kill the weakest cells first. So if you can create a scenario where those cancer cells are already weakened, i.e. ketogenic state, the chemo has a better shot at getting those first. But anyway, The Magic Pill, guys, check it out. It's on Netflix. It's a great documentary.
Amazing.
When you watch it, jump on our Facebook, you know, Treadmills and Tangents, post about it. We've got some posts, so respond there, comments, ask questions. We're always checking that, keeping up on what's going on there, because, you know, part of, I think, of what we do is like to put stuff out there that get feedback from people. Do you have questions? What do you see? Is there something that we missed in there that it's always good to get feedback?
Feel free to correct us too. By no means are we infallible. You know, we like to, you know, we're here for open discussion, and that's what it's all about. Even when I go, what was funny is I was last week, I went on Chip and Ian. I went on their show Friday morning. Friday's kind of their hang loose kind of day, and I went in there. And once we were off the air, I had a long discussion with Chip about his diet, you know, what he's taking. And because they're a high profile show, they'll get people throwing samples at them all the time. Oh. And he was telling me how he took some samples and just felt terrible. He had somebody give him like a weight loss substance, And I was like, well, Chip, you got to be careful, man. You just throwing a foreign substance. A knock on Chip. I guess my point is just kind of, be careful when you take stuff.
Know what you put in your body.
Know what you put in your body.
You only get one.
And that's all food. Like, it's all food in general. And, and I go back to the basics, guys. If it's in a package, it's probably processed.
Sure.
Right. Outside of like fresh fruit and vegetable and meat in a plastic wrap, it's probably processed. It's probably loaded with carbohydrates,
And sugar's in so much stuff, man. It blows my mind when I started keto to really look at labels. Sugar's in everything. And
you can't get away from it.
So much of it.
Where it really shows up is foods marketed at kids.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I can go downstairs right now, and I'm not proud of this, but I can whip open my crisper in my refrigerator, and there's these little yogurt shooters that my son loves.
Little Go-Gurt things?
Yeah, little Go-Gurt type things. And, which, yogurt on the surface, great. Yogurt is great. Plain yogurt.
Yeah.
Right?
I eat
but when they start
full-fat yogurt.
But when they start putting flavors in it and fruit in it, and all of a sudden you're just like, man, and it's like, God, it's, you don't want to discourage your kid from eating yogurt, but at the same time, it's like, I'm putting sugar in them, and it's my own fault.
Yeah, and the industry's done that. Like, they know that, yogurt's good for you, so then what do? Oh, you sell yogurt to a soccer mom who may not be paying attention because their kid likes it. Hey, my kid's eating yogurt, that's a good thing. And in reality, it's a piece of candy that's labeled yogurt. It's not a good thing, for your kid. So it's...
Right. So I'm going to hold that thought, and we're going to come back and talk about, the family dynamic and nutrition. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Treadmills and Tangents, everybody, right here on The Answer, 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to Treadmills and Tangents. I'm here today with Dale Sundermann, Family Advocacy Outreach Manager here at Offutt Air Force Base, who's also the founding member of the SKILZ team here in Omaha, which is an executive coaching team and leadership training consultants, whose motto is engage, inspire, and evolve. He's also co-author of Positive Interventions from Prevention to Amplification, which is a lead chapter in a larger book as well. And he's actively involved in Toastmasters International.
Yeah.
So, Dale, thanks for taking some time today. I want to talk about performance.
All right.
Okay. And, as a mental health expert and someone who goes around the country talking to organizations, how do you define performance?
Oh, man.
Pretty open-ended, I know.
All right. Well, when I'm talking to an organization, what is a good employee? Well, it's somebody that comes in. You're performing when you come in and you do what most needs to be done from moment to moment to make your organization great. That's your job. And we get paid to provide value, not to be busy. And I think a lot of times we've observed a change in people losing track and losing sight of that. You ever have people going, well, that's not my job. If you got somebody coming in and saying that's not my job, then we really haven't onboarded them well enough to let them know that their job is to provide value and to make the organization great. That's it. When I bring you on, I might show you a couple of tasks or have you work side by side with Jim and Jim's tasks. Jim will show you what he does, but it's just a series of tasks. Later, we get into the frustration of wanting them to do something other than what Jim was doing, and they think it's not their job.
So it's not just expectations. The expectation is, hey, there's requirements for the job, but in terms of performance, it's like, what else can I do, right? It's not what I always say, don't step over the dead body.
Yeah.
Like, if you see a problem, take the initiative and fix it. But that's not innate to everybody.
No, it's not. And I like that analogy that don't step over the dead body, because people will see something needs to get done, but if it's not their job or they get away with it, they'll actually pretend to look busy doing what they're doing to avoid a difficult task or doing what they think is more than their fair share.
If we can, let's expand this to the larger health and wellness. So if we know people at work won't necessarily take initiative to do things that are outside of their quote-unquote scope, do you see that in terms of mental health or people in their own life not doing the things that they see needs to be done? In other words, like, I know what I got to do to eat healthy, but I just don't do it. Or I know there's some things I can do that I can mentally be healthier, and I just don't do it. Is there a correlation? Like, is it the same trigger in people that at work they won't go the extra mile, and in their own life they won't go the extra mile?
Yeah, we see that a lot. Trying to think of how to best describe why we think that is, because we know what we need to do, right? I mean, everybody knows if I want to get in better shape, I just eat healthy and exercise. It's very simple, but it's not easy because we get into certain habits, certain routines.
I guess a better way is, we couched performance as adding value.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how do we add value to our life in terms of how do we perform better as people? Like, how do I have a healthier, happier life in terms of adding value to myself?
I would say the single greatest thing can be a small mindset shift. This construct of growth mindset, Carol Dweck's early work on implicit personal theories.
Read the book, love it.
Yes, and a lot of people have read it. Schools have moved into it because Carol Dweck's been doing this work for several decades. And in the schools, it was in education, but only when the book came out did organizations start picking up more on it and saying, hey, we recognize, because of the research, 1999, when Martin Seligman became the president of the Psychological Association, he started to challenge us in the field to not just apply the science of psychology to deficits and what was wrong, but actually on performance, which we'd often left high performers, the outliers, kind of as, quite honestly, we didn't get paid for it, right? Since World War I, psychology has studied what's wrong with people, what makes us depressed, what makes us in a funk. That would be the focus. And we line of normal, where everybody has highs and lows. So people would take a look and focus on what was wrong. So they stood up the Institute of Mental Health, which really shouldn't be called the Institute of Mental Health, because like doctors, they don't study health. They study disease. And so with that focus, we spent a lot of time studying what's wrong with people, applying that, and what's below the norm. And so I was really interested in how to help people. And we could feel very confident. So if you were to come in and you say, Aaron, you said, hey, Dale, I got a problem. And I'd give you an assessment and I'd say, Aaron, you don't have a problem, but you do have insight. You got 5 problems, Aaron. But don't worry, I'll get you to normal before your insurance runs out.
Which that's probably an understatement for me. I probably have more than 5 problems.
Yeah. I could still get you there. I could still get you to normal, though, so that you don't feel bad before your insurance runs out.
Fair enough.
Feel very confident about that because we've been studying that for so long. The thing that I was frustrated with was that just because we don't feel bad doesn't mean that we feel good, right?
Or we can't get better.
Yeah, and people aren't thinking about that. They're just, how do I not feel bad anymore? So when I left and joined the Air Force in '99, that was my interest, and it happened at the same time Martin Seligman was challenging the psychological community. And I had a great mentor, Colonel Stephen Hamilton, that had said he was interested in this as well, this whole new movement. So we started creating programs at the Air Force level here locally at Offutt Air Force, where I was an officer. We had some really good enlisted on how playing around with these performance principles. At that time, it was, Zig Ziglar, motivational speakers. They were kind of quackish because it worked for some, didn't work for others. But we knew it worked for some.
The shift went from, hey, let's, instead of focusing on what's wrong with people, let's focus on what's right and what people are doing well. And then how do we get people to that level? What are the things that are happening in there?
Success and flourishing. Absolutely. And and this is what the science started to tell us. So as we started to, and it was small because it really didn't pay well to start exploring that early on.
Because successful people don't need it, right?
Yeah, that's right. And they would tell us all sorts of stuff such as, you need to go out and make lots of mistakes. So in our mind, we're like, yeah, we know we need to make mistakes. We need to explore. We just don't do that because making mistakes hurts. It's uncomfortable.
And it's costly.
It is costly. So they give us all of this stuff from where they came from, but it was still tough for individuals to identify until we started to apply the science. And here's something else that I discovered as we started taking a look at the outlier population, those people that had experienced great levels of success, but not just success, Aaron, I'm talking well-being. People that are successful and feel good, because you can be successful and not be happy with your success. Autobiographies. I mean, when you think, what is one of your favorite autobiographies or individuals that you admire most?
Currently, I like a lot of things that guys like Gary Vaynerchuk are doing, and Daniel Pink, Brendon Burchard, guys like that.
Yeah. So the motivational, the thinkers that are bringing some,
that are trying to get people to that next level.
Yeah. Well, when we take a look, actually, I was just reading Rocky Bleier. Right, his story for the Steelers, and you read autobiographies of other people you respect and admire, people that have changed the lives of our world. And these are great stories because when you read the stories about these individuals' lives, you're like, wow, they had to overcome a lot of difficulties. We're thinking, okay, well, great, they're successful after overcoming these challenges. In spite of these challenges, But what the science has actually showed us is that they are successful precisely because of the challenges. That in fact, even the brain, the way the myelination between neurological connections that speed up the pathway that develops skills for us, they only get myelinated when you frequently work that pathway and it's uncomfortable.
So it comes back to, you should, in order to grow as a person, to perform better, you need to struggle.
Yes.
Like we have a mantra in the gym: the struggle makes you stronger.
Mm-hmm.
That if you don't experience difficulties, you don't experience challenge. I always say, if you've never failed, you've never really challenged yourself.
Yep.
And that sparks growth.
Absolutely. And Daniel Coyle, in his book, The Talent Code, it's a good one.
Good book. Read it. Yep.
Yeah. So, and he brings up the science argument, and that's what led me to start exploring more and more about the neurology of success and skill. And that is, struggle is a biological requirement for growth.
So if you stay in your comfort zone, at some point you'll stop growing as a person, and then stop increasing performance.
Yeah, we'll plateau off. And by the way, there's some psychology as to why people get into that comfort zone, right? You mentioned that you read Carol Dweck's book on mindset.
Yes.
So you take a look, and sometimes people misconstrue what a fixed or growth mindset is. They think, okay, I'm either open to things or I'm closed to things. That's a popularized shortcut version of the construct of implicit personal theory. The implicit personal theory, which is now popularized as a growth or fixed mindset, is, do I feel that if I work hard enough, I can improve? Or do I feel that talent or whatever the area I'm thinking about is fixed? In other words, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Or can I overcome my own limitations?
That's right. If you have this talent mindset, which is often what I would probably say a fixed mindset is more like a talent mindset. You either have it or you don't. And if you're good at something and you work at it, you can get appreciatively better. But a growth mindset says even if you just start off not very good, but you really work at something, you can become appreciatively better. IQ, for example. IQ is one that we'll have a fixed or growth mindset about, but we have it in domains all over in our lives. You, Aaron, myself, I've got a fixed mindset about different things in my life, about my abilities in doing math and statistics, or the difference between running fast or endurance. You could have a different mindset about different categories or areas in your life. So I'm going to use IQ, for example, because that's the one that's been the most frequently researched for Carol Dweck. Individuals that have a fixed mindset about IQ believes that, well, you can't really appreciatively improve it. No matter how hard you work, you either have it or you don't. And so smart people are smart people. You know, if you're not smart, then you're just not smart.
Yeah, no amount of studying or reading is going to fix that.
That's right. But the thing with if you're of a growth mindset, you believe that if you work hard enough, you can become smarter. You can change your IQ. So what happens is, if you have a growth mindset, then you'll work harder. And if tests are real important, you see, because in these two categories, if you got a fixed mindset, which is about talent, you either have it or you don't, or a growth mindset, which is about developing ability, the desire for these two is very different, but it sounds so similar. So the desire of a fixed mindset is to demonstrate competence. If you ever find yourself in any area of your life where you're trying to demonstrate that you're good or you're capable or you're deserving, that's a pretty good clue that you, in that moment, are in a fixed mindset.
Right. It's all about the score.
Yeah, it's all about the score.
How well did I do?
How well did I do? How well did I demonstrate? Because when we're in the growth mindset and when we're in that flow of thinking, not to take off on another philosopher or psychologist thing with flow.
It's okay to go on a tangent. The show's treadmills and tangents. We get off on tangents all the time.
So the desire for those in the growth mindset is to become competent. Sounds similar, but couldn't have more huge implications in the difference. If your desire is to demonstrate competence versus the desire to become competent, the desire to demonstrate competence handles failures very differently. If my desire is to demonstrate competence, every time I fail, then I'm a failure. I'm a loser.
Because you're always trying to prove yourself.
I'm always trying to prove myself.
Or somebody else.
Yep. And so I'm a loser. I failed. I'm worthless. But if your desire is to demonstrate competence, then a failure is just, I failed this time. That means the skills and the abilities that I had this time didn't work. It means what do I need to gather? So it's a difference between having done or actually being.
Sure. And to draw an analogy, and again, I'm here with Dale Sundermann, mental health professional, performance coach, co-founder of the SKILZ Group. To draw an analogy, me being a martial arts instructor and a school owner, a lot of people get caught up in the belt. Like,
Yeah.
I got to get the belt. And if it's my only gauge to determine how well I'm doing. And vice versa, other people who it's all about the journey.
Yeah.
And I tell people, hey, I'm a lifer. It's about the journey. I'm not worried. I'm beyond belts at this point. Am I getting better? Am I 1% better than I was? Am I better than I was last year than I am today? So it's more about the growth mindset. It's more about the journey, the process of learning, the process of getting better.
Yeah.
Whereas the fixed mindset, it's all about the belt.
It's all about
get
the
that
reward.
black belt.
Gotta
That's
get
all
that.
that matters.
That's right. And if it takes extra effort, if things are really hard, then I'm not really that good. But effort for the growth mindset indicates they see it as a requirement to get better, because everything getting better is.
Now, I think I know the answer, but who's more likely to quit?
Oh man, research by and far the fixed mindset. And here's the crazy thing. Even people that are more capable and competent, if they have a fixed mindset, are more likely to quit.
So they're going to quit anyway.
They're going to quit anyway. And this is where, quite honestly, the system that exists right now is sabotaging us in a great deal.
Now, when you say the system, what are you referring to?
I'm talking about kind of the education system, and it's not intentional. I used to be a teacher and a coach, and what happens is if something comes naturally pretty easy to an individual, then the system works for them, and they kind of work the system, right? So I work a little bit, put in a little bit of effort, but that struggle, that difficulty and challenge requires you to give more.
There's a lot of parents that listen.
Mm-hmm.
So parents in helping your children, especially as they get older, in challenges of high school and sports and the need to perform comes into play. Your GPA starts to be more important to get into college. Your scores on tests are more important.
Mm-hmm.
Your ability to perform on the athletic field. And I can see how kids will exhibit the fixed and open and growth mindsets as well. What can parents do to help, push a kid towards that growth mindset, towards that open mindset? Vice, they get so upset that they failed the test, or they get so upset that they didn't perform well. And, kids being kids, and they're young and emotional, and, everything's the end of the world every time something doesn't go right. What can parents do to kind of nudge their kids to, like, it's okay, it's part of the process, failure's a part of it, keep trying? There's
so many different ways, especially for parents. And it's using as many mediums as possible, having their kids involved in activities, and having mentors such as yourself sharing that message. Because if it's coming straight from us as parents, our kids aren't always listening to it. So we can tell them that. And I hear people all the time say, well, I told my kid this. It's like, yeah, but your kid isn't acting on it, right? My kids aren't acting on it. I knew that if there were behaviors that I wanted them to exhibit, it wasn't going to be coming from me. So there's several different ways. First of all, really engage on the experience of learning and growing. Put them in as many opportunities as possible for them to fail, for them to be uncomfortable. And then when you praise and give them encouragement about the effort that they're putting in. Not about, hey, you won, or look at how well you did and you're just starting out, because that will move them into a fixed mindset. But when we say, hey, wow, you know what, you really stuck around. I saw that you worked harder and did extra after practice. Now, when practice was done, you're the type that just wants to keep going. That's really cool. At the dinner table at home, don't ask them, what'd you do today? What kind of grades did you get on the test? Say, what did you learn today?
I'm guilty of that. I'll ask, how was your day? What'd you do today?
Yeah.
Who'd you play with? All finite answers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So more open-ended
question. And about their exploration of the world. What did they get from the world? I also operate on a 5-to-1 ratio. Anything you want your kids to know and you tell them directly, in the next 48 hours, try to find 5 indirect ways to throw it right in front of them. In other words, be watching a video and invite your wife over to take a look at it while the kids are nearby. And they'll instinctively also look over your shoulder to see what you're watching. You're not telling them, but you're giving them the message. Or you're in the car. You call their favorite Uncle Wade, or I sometimes would fake it, and I would tell them the message as though I'm talking to my brother, but I got captives in the backseat that are listening to this message, because anything Dad tells cool Uncle Wade is worth listening to. Or I'll talk to their grandmother, or I'll talk to my wife about it, and it's our adult conversation in the front seat, but they are tuned in.
So they're getting it from as many different angles as possible. And because you're talking to somebody else that's not coming from you.
That's right.
I always joke that, growing up, your dad tells you something 1,000 times, and a complete stranger says it. You're like, hey, Dad, this guy said this to me. And he's like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah. I used to deliberately set CDs on, in my car while I'm listening to them, and something that was neat, I'd deliberately wait and reset it so that when my boys were in the car, I'd replay it. And then I'd give a little dramatic, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that," or "Geez, that's awesome." And of course, then they were listening, "What is that, Dad?" Right? "Here, let me rewind it for you." And then I'd replay it. Total setup. And then the other thing that is perhaps more important than anything is what we're infusing the mind with before we go to bed. Because our gut doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's vividly imagined. And whatever our conscious mind goes to bed with, it continues to process throughout the night. And that explains why it's difficult for us to go to sleep. Sleep research at the University of Nebraska will tell you, even though somebody's laying in bed and they're all wired up, they realize that while you're laying in bed, if your mind is thinking about a conflict or a task or dreading and visualizing failure in the next day, your heart, lungs, and thorax will actually flex and contract much more like you're involved in the event than actually sleeping in bed.
That's interesting because in athletic training, we see a lot of times the muscle doesn't understand. Right? It just knows it's flexing. It doesn't know if it's running, jumping, or lifting. It just knows it's contracting and flexing, and that's how you can train. That's why strength and conditioning works.
Yes.
You don't have to do the actual activity to get better at it. Because the muscle doesn't know the difference. So what you're saying in this case, the mind doesn't necessarily know. The mind
doesn't know the difference because it's the myelination between the neurological connections. We don't have muscle memory. We just have muscle strength and contraction. The muscle memory actually comes from the brain. And so if you get degradation of certain neurological connections, that's why we have certain fine motor skill issues and stuff like that. They haven't hurt the muscles in the hand at all. It's a brain disorder. Visualization techniques, right? The brain's an incredible simulator. So studies have shown, one study that I share a lot is the one on 12-year-old boys where they took them and had them visualize perfect free throws for an extra 10 minutes after practice. And those boys actually improved their free throw shooting by 20%.
So it's direct correlation.
Yep, over the lucky kids that got to go home right away after practice.
Right.
They also had a third group which actually physically shot free throws for 10 minutes. Right, they were considered the least lucky of all, and their free throw shooting also improved almost to about the same degree
as the
visualization group. Yeah.
So the mind just took the actual act and the visualizing as being the same.
Yeah.
In that case, that's interesting. Well, Dale, thank you for the time today. A lot of great stuff, and I appreciate the time. We'll have to do this again because we can go in so many directions. And just looking around your office here, there's piles and piles of books. You guys could see this. Obviously, Dale's reading anything and everything he can get his hands on. But again, Dale Sundermann, thank you very much. Go online, guys. Check out is theskillsgroup.com. Yep. And they're a professional consulting team that can come into your business and help you out with management and leadership issues that you might be having. Dale, thanks again. I appreciate the time. And that's all the time we have today, folks. Thanks for, again, listening to another edition of Treadmills and Tangents right here on The Answer, 94.5 FM, 1420N, every Saturday, 9 a.m. That's Treadmills and Tangents, your health and wellness show. Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to Treadmills and Tangents. Coach coming at you here with Timmy and Sam, talking health, wellness, and all things that randomly come across our brains at the time.
Like tangents.
Which, depending on how much coffee we've had. You know what's funny? I was when I was on Chip and Ian's show, they talked about the tangents, and it was kind of funny. Like, and sometimes they'll get off on a rabbit hole. I'm like, yes, we will.
Easy to do.
Sometimes we have to make notes for ourselves so we don't get too far down a rabbit hole. All of a sudden we're like, wait, what were we talking about?
Although we tend to never follow the notes at all.
True story.
Speaking of, so, we're coming back. We were talking about the effects of carbohydrates and wow.
That's a new word. That's a new word.
That's not enough coffee right there.
You need more butter in your coffee, sir.
Gotta get my Ebonics going. Sometimes it's easy, like I was saying, it's easy for me to eat healthy, but trying to get my wife and kids to eat healthy is a different challenge. And Tim, I'm sure you have a similar challenge going full-blown keto, and I'm sure your wife wants nothing to do with it, especially while she was pregnant. Right. Nothing to do with keto.
Right. So I actually started keto the day our son Grant was born. In the hospital, she was a little salty because we had meal prepped for a month after getting out of the hospital.
Wait, hold on a second. The meal prep had nothing to do with her being salty. She just gave birth.
Right, true. She also did just give birth.
She just dropped a bowling ball.
That could have been part of it.
The whole meal prep. What about the baby?
Out of private parts.
We made all these meals where we had sealed them, like you just open the crock pot, they cook all day. But a lot of it was carb heavy. So when I, I started keto in the hospital. She was like, "You got to be."
Tell me you threw it all out.
Yeah, she was mad. She was very mad.
You pissed off a
newly pregnant woman. I never say it was a smart
That's
plan.
Tim for you. That's Tim
Right.
for you. Sometimes
But-
doesn't use his brain.
Looking back now, she's like, I'm still upset that we wasted all this food.
I haven't
But-
forgiven you.
But she realizes how much
Hell
better,
hath no fury.
how much
She's
better I
gonna
am
she's
now.
holding
So-
that against you for
Oh yeah, she's gonna
the
ride-
rest of your marriage.
She'll ride that out for a hot minute, I'm sure. But so she does not do keto, which is fine. But there are times where I make stuff, and it's if we're making brats or something like that, we don't buy buns anymore. So she does things similar to what I do, but only in instances where it would be a waste for us to buy a pack of buns for one.
Right.
We have a bowl of candy on our counter that's Snickers eggs and all kinds of ridiculous stuff that she just eats and loves, and that's her choice. So that's fine. I made the mistake one day as we were driving around, and she's like, I don't feel great. I'm like, well, maybe it's because you eat too much sugar.
Oops.
Another instance,
Here
I
goes
probably
that
should have kept my mouth shut.
You gotta fine tune the filter a little bit more.
Tim doesn't have a filter though.
I
Come on, you know
struggle.
that.
I struggle with the filter.
And I'll say this, by no means am I throwing my wife under the bus. She does actively try hard and make smart choices and buy organic stuff. We have more organic stuff in our house than ever, and there's less sugar in our house than ever. And when you look at, like, if there are noodles in the house, they're all gluten-free noodles. And I like gluten-free for reasons other than just the carbohydrates. It's the inflammation piece and things like that. But we could still get better, and obviously I'm going to be more of an extreme than she will be, right? So it's just trying to find that middle ground that if you want to be uber healthy and go full-time keto and no one else in the house does, there's going to be some friction, right? There's going to be some
friction's a good word for that.
Friction. Well, it is what it is. But for me now, the kids get caught in a crossfire sometimes. It's like, I want my kids to just not eat any of that garbage. And I get it. Kids are kids, and when they're around their friends, when they're at school, don't get me started on the school lunches and the after school programs.
Our nutrition person.
Oh my God.
I'm not trying to throw under the bus, but when I started losing weight, asked me, what are you doing? I said keto, and I think I brought this up before. She was not happy and still tells me when she sees me, she wishes I wasn't on that diet. So we agree to disagree that we're on opposite ends of the spectrum there. But
well, speaking of, and again, it goes back to when I was talking to Dr. Brad Winterstein, who's a bariatric surgeon over at Methodist. He'll be the first to say dogma is stronger than data, and it's tough to get over that hump. And there's still a lot of physicians and nutritionists who are old school food pyramid who keto is just, they just don't understand it. So when you don't understand it, you just oppose it. You said you had a family friend whose daughter
just got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in the past 2 to 3 weeks.
And they're turning to keto to hopefully rectify that.
Right. And so she has a son with some other things going on. So they've started trying to slowly dip into keto. So we were on a work trip the other day and driving. And so as we were talking about it, she started asking more questions and said, their doctor wasn't real big on putting their 9-year-old daughter on full-blown keto, but there were some benefits as they started to do it. Obviously, I didn't want to tell her, like, hey, you should do it, because I'm not a doctor, and things have worked for me, not to say that they would work specifically for her, but even that has come that they're trying to use that to help.
And it is true that, growing kids have different nutritional needs, but you can get that through the ketogenic diet. And, and here's my point is, I don't know why a doctor would be opposed to a child or an adolescent being on a ketogenic diet, because that's where all the problems start. If you look at child obesity in our country right now, it's ridiculous, right? And it's one thing for an adult. Hey, if you want to do that to yourself, go for it. You want to eat burgers and dogs and pizza. Life was that, because my parents didn't know any better. Like, it just, the information, education wasn't there. And don't get me wrong, I'm not on a ketogenic diet. I still have my pizza. But, I also watch very clean, and I do it in moderation. But, so as an adult, if you want to do that to yourself, hey, fine, go for it. But to do it to a child who doesn't know any better, right? Childhood obesity, in my mind, is a fault of parents.
Sure.
Right? I'm not going to get on a parenting trip right now, but if you give them carbohydrate-laden and sugar-laden diets, what's going to happen? Now, some kids can trump it by staying active and being in a lot of sports, but kids are more sedentary than ever. They're not outside playing. They're in front of the TV, getting their screen time.
iPads, iPods.
Got to play that Minecraft.
Which, by the way, this week is anti-screen week. There's that, and it's an actual movement, anti-screen week. We're going to try it in our house. You're supposed to stay off your screens unless absolutely necessary.
Oh, wow.
Huh.
We'll see.
I think a lot of people have put that on the our choose one lose one board at the gym. They've put you and I both have done it. Less screen time.
I put less TV on mine, although I don't watch too much TV. But anyway, guys, I guess the point of the conversation is sit down and have that conversation. Try to find that middle ground that if you want to be staunch, ketogenic or staunch healthy, and the rest of your family doesn't, you got to try to find that middle ground. Try to, or covertly get the stuff out of the house.
I luckily haven't had to hit that yet. Since we only have an 11-month-old, he's still on the baby food and stuff. So we haven't come to, he's just starting people food. So we haven't started grown-up food, whatever you want to call it. We haven't had the, what's okay for us to feed him, what's okay for us to not feed him. So, I mean, I guess we'll just kind of figure that out as we go.
What?
I'm hearing some
I
barbecue.
love barbecue.
Are we in the
Doesn't look
South?
barbecue.
What?
Twang.
Barbecue. Well, speaking of food, guys, and speaking of trying to be healthy, I was in Hy-Vee today, and I was walking the organic section, and again, just looking around. And when I got to the condiments area, I was like, hey, I want to try to find something that kind of falls in line with what we're talking about. And knowing that ketchup and barbecue sauce tends to be higher in sugars, they have a barbecue sauce there. G. Hughes barbecue sauce, award-winning pitmaster G. Hughes. He has a sugar-free barbecue sauce.
He's a good-looking man.
He's a good-looking man. For a pitmaster.
For a guy on the front of a label of a barbecue sauce.
Goes.
Yeah.
But, barbecue sauce generally has a lot of sugar, a lot of brown sugar. That's what makes it barbecue sauce, right? But this one has no sugar in it. It's got no fat, only 2 grams of carbs, and no protein. So it's essentially a sugar-free condiment. Vine-ripened tomatoes, cider vinegar, which a lot of barbecue sauces are vinegar-based, lemon juice, spices, onion, caramel color. This one's the original, and you have, the hickory flavored over there?
Yeah. Yep.
Hickory. So we got, I picked up a smoked chicken so we could dip this in and taste it. I was going to get ribs, but I didn't want to spend that much money on you guys.
You also know, you get ribs and, we got the window of the man cubby open. The whole neighborhood's going to be...
Yeah, then they're going to be over flocking.
When we do ribs, we don't mess around. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, that, and I didn't want to get the mics all full of barbecue sauce because as you eat ribs. So I'm gonna.
That's fair.
I gotta grab a piece of chicken. I'm gonna dip it in some original right here, and see what we got.
Some hickory.
It's good. I like it. You think taking the sugar out, you'd lose a lot, but you don't.
That's good.
Sugar-free, gluten-free, no high fructose corn syrup at all.
Yeah,
that's
the smoky flavor is fantastic.
Oh, I like the original.
Yeah, man. So G. Hughes, gluten-free, 2 grams of carbs per serving, and a serving is 2 tablespoons, so that's quite a bit. Which one are you handing me here?
This is the hickory.
Oh, the hickory. They also have a honey and a maple brown sugar. I do like the hickory. That's tasty.
Yeah.
I imagine this would be fabulous on ribs too.
Well, let's be honest. A lot of things are fabulous on ribs.
Well, ribs in general.
Original good. I'm with you. I think I prefer the hickory a little bit. It had a nice little smoke aftertaste. It was really good.
Right on. Yeah, and we're trying this
really
on
good.
chicken, guys. Obviously there's more of the fat and beef, so it'll bring out more flavors. But very good. G. Hughes sugar-free barbecue sauce, original and hickory. They also have honey and maple brown sugar, so check that out.
And keep in mind, the fattier the meat, the better it is.
True statement.
Yes.
True statement. And again, I like grabbing those ready-made chickens, those rotisserie chickens.
Oh, absolutely.
Just ripping them apart.
Yeah. Do you talk about rather than fast food, just run in there, and almost all grocery stores have them now.
What are they, like $4 or $5? I mean,
Just,
they're cheap.
and the meat just falls off of them, and you can just do all kinds of things with it. Now, I looked down and I saw this product. It's called Just, and that's literally the name of it, Just. And its motto is Just for Everyone. And it's essentially a bunch of mayonnaises and ranches. And I grabbed these because the ingredients are very minimal for the most part, but no sugar, 1 gram of sugar. I'm looking at the awesome sauce, so I had to grab that one. I was like,
yeah, why would you
awesome
not?
sauce.
It says
So
awesome
it's
sauce.
just
You gotta
awesome sauce.
Hopefully it tastes that good.
Non-GMO. It's just basically spreads and dressings. And I grabbed the awesome sauce. I grabbed the Chipotle ranch, and then the Caesar dressing. So we got some carrots and cucumbers we're gonna dip in and try it out. But basically, it's all fat, no carbs, no sugar, and no protein. So
and gluten free. I don't know if yours says they're both the ones we were looking at over here are
I
gluten
think the
free.
whole line
Yep.
is pretty much.
That's
gluten
awesome.
free. And Sam says he's just got these in his Hy-Vee as well.
I'm excited.
And, so again, we're just looking at condiments that are not loaded with sugar and a bunch of carbs, and just basically ways to make your eating experience a little more pleasant. Did you try the awesome sauce?
I did try the awesome sauce.
What is it?
It's awesome. Flavor description, awesome.
That Chipotle's not bad.
What flavor is it?
I don't know.
I can taste garlic in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to compare the awesome sauce to because I don't think I've
It's
even...
kind of got like a dill, almost like a dill flavor to
It's
it.
funny you say that because dill is one of the ingredients.
I don't know what's in it, but I like it.
It's like a relish. It's like a...
A dill relish.
Yeah, it's almost like a... I want to say tartar sauce, but that's not the right word. It's got the consistency of a tartar sauce. But
That's really good, though.
the awesome sauce?
Another bite of it,
What?
I taste different flavors this time around.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
That's
That
good.
Caesar's good too.
Yeah, all three of them were.
I like the
good.
chipotle. The chipotle ranch is very good.
Yeah.
That'll be good. Now, ranch dressings in general tend to be higher in fat, lower in sugar. So you got to be careful because a lot of them will have a bunch of sugar in it to make it taste sweeter.
Or you could get the fat-free, quote unquote. We're supposed to be good for you. And really, it's just more loaded up with sugar. and
Yeah, that's all it
fatness.
is. It's less fat, more sugar.
God.
So, again, Tim makes a great point. Avoid the fat-free salad dressings, guys. Get the full fat salad dressing because that's what they do. They pull the fat out, add more sugar to make it taste better. So get the full fat ranch, get the full fat everything, or just stick with your vinaigrettes.
Sure.
When I grew up in an Italian family, so it was vinegar and oil on everything.
I was just going to say,
I
when
love
when I
vinaigrettes.
did Atkins years ago, that's all I put on my salad. Just
Vinegar and
oil
oil.
and vinegar.
And some salt.
Mix
Oil
up,
and vinegar and some
maybe
salt,
a little bit of
and
pepper
that's what
sauce.
we would
It's
do.
feeling spicy.
But you can get sassy with it. Put some balsamic in it, and there's all kinds of different balsamic
Absolutely.
vinegars out there now. And you can play with the different kinds of oils, and then
I'm
which
an
will
extra
change the
virgin
flavors.
olive oil guy myself.
Little EVO.
I do love the extra virgin olives.
That's right. So again, we just looked at the Just. Again, I don't know what to say. That's the name of the company. Justice for Everyone. Awesome sauce, Chipotle ranch, and Caesar. They got regular ranch. They got a couple other different flavors, and then the G. Hughes sugar-free barbecue sauce, incredibly good. Both of those are in the organic section at your Hy-Vee. I'm sure they probably have them in the regular section as well.
I'm giving 2 thumbs up to every one we tasted.
Double thumbs up.
Everything was amazing.
I do like the barbecue sauce.
Yes.
And we're going to take a quick break so we can eat some more, not chew in your ear, live on the air. Again, you're listening to Treadmills and Tangents right here on The Answer, 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. Coming up next is Dale Sundermann, mental health expert and corporate performance coach.
Tune in each Saturday morning with fun banter on what it takes to live a healthier, happier, and more vibrant life in the Big O. Treadmills and Tangents with Coach Aaron Cerrone and his army of wellness warriors.